You've been here a week. Who have you been seeing?
Well, we've been meeting with business leaders throughout the country, meeting with American business as well as South African business leaders, the government in Pretoria. What we really want to do is emphasize that we believe there's a huge opportunity to grow the relationship between South Africa and the United States. It's a $13 billion trading relationship, but it could be a lot bigger. We believe that America has to be present in the continent. We believe that South Africa can serve as a gateway for the continent, and we would like to collaborate, whether it's in tourism, infrastructure, power generation, as your last guest talked about, whether it's in agri-food business, healthcare services, IT, education, a lot of opportunities for growth. We want to help our companies do more business in the continent, and we want to attract investment in our country as well.
Absolutely. So the people that you have been seeing, give me a sense of the kind of message that you have received from them and your assessment.
Well, I think it's been a very welcoming message from the people that we have met with.
They didn't ask you if you're from China.
Well, they didn't. And you know, the truth is we have fallen behind. Let's be honest. China is now South Africa's #1 trading relationship.
True.
And this is not a competition with China. This is about us taking full advantage of the opportunities to create jobs and growth in our own economy.
Yeah.
The South Africa wants to create 5 million jobs here. We want to create even more than that in the United States. So we should find ways to partner with South African companies to create the jobs in both economies. And we think there is an opportunity, and I think the message has been well received here by both government and business.
Any discordant voices that you had perhaps that raises concern in your mind that bringing American money here into South Africa and into Africa may be a challenge?
Well, this is a pretty stable economy. Like the United States, South Africa has had some hard times in recent years.
Sure.
Growth rates are a little bit down. They are also in the United States. We both recognize that what's happening in Europe, even a softening in China and in the United States, has some bearing here in South Africa. But if you look at South Africa's prospects for growth, if you see South Africa as not only being able to take advantage of the mining but diversified industry that it represents, I think there's a huge opportunity for growing our links.
Yeah.
And there are some good, positive stories to be told. There are companies I've met with, Johnson & Johnson, Coca-Cola, and others that have been here a long time, heavily invested. But we represent 3 million businesses. We represent companies that are not on the ground here.
Yeah.
And we also represent a federation that wants to welcome investment from South Africa. We want to see more of that.
What went wrong? I mean, you had advantage of first mover before China came, and yet, as you admit, you've fallen behind.
Well, I think we were a little sleepy for the last 5 to 7 years. I think America took its eye off the ball when it comes to Africa. We've been in Asia, looking at other markets around the world, looking at the BRIC countries, Brazil and Russia, India, etc. But I think we need to put our focus back on Africa.
Right.
It starts with our government doing the right thing. I'm pleased the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, will probably be here later in the year. But the business community, we sit right across the street from the White House. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, if we put our mind to it, and if we invest the time and resources, and we work closely here in South Africa, I think we can do some important things to move the meter forward and to find ways to drive economic activity. There are things we need to do. For example, we need to support AGOA, the African Growth Opportunity Act. That will come up for reauthorization in the United States Congress in 2015. That has been a huge driver for creating opportunities in South Africa, for creating jobs here. We need to encourage more of that. Vice versa, we want to help South Africa make the right decisions in encouraging foreign investment.
Absolutely.
We're watching what's happening with Walmart.
Yeah.
We're watching the policy development here about mining and other industries to see how encouraging it is for foreign investors.
That was going to be my next question, because I was going to ask you how the noises around nationalization and also the debate around changing general economic policy in South Africa has impacted companies that have money in the ground, and also companies that potentially may be looking at South Africa and Africa and saying, would like to be part of the billion-plus people that are in this part of the world.
Well, it's a good, bad story, right? On the good side are companies that have been long-time investors in South Africa and have seen the thick, have gone through hard times and good times and are profitable. But when you're talking about new investors in the market, they look at the signals. And they look at policies that are being determined by the government to determine whether they're going to make new investments, and whether they're going to go to South Africa or whether they're going to pick other parts of the continent. And so, that's what we want to represent. We want to reflect the realities on the ground here. We want to address some of the challenges on red tape and bureaucracy that exist here.
Sure.
South Africa has a good rule of law, has a good civic society that should encourage more investment. But we want to work with the government in partnership. We want to work with the business community in partnership to make sure these opportunities materialize.
Yeah.
The vision has to be bolder.
Absolutely.
On both sides.
Have you met any government officials during this visit?
Yes, and tomorrow we'll meet with the Deputy President of the
What have they
country.
been saying to you? I'm curious.
Well, I think the government officials welcome the energy that we want to bring to the relationship.
Right.
They're obviously aware of some of the tensions that have existed over the years between South Africa and the United States. But, you know, the reality is everyone wants to get jobs in their economy. Sure. Everyone wants to see growth. So when we talk about bringing healthcare services, looking to partner in that area, if we talk about agri-food business opportunities,
right.
if we can materialize real opportunities and have successes,
yeah.
That will generate more growth and more opportunity. And at the end of the day, every government wants jobs, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring jobs.
5 million of them that we're looking for here in South Africa. Now, when you see the Vice President, the Deputy President tomorrow, what are you going to tell him? I'm
going to tell him that the U.S. Chamber is operating in well over 100 countries around the world and
sure.
has special strategic initiatives in 20, China, Brazil, Russia, India, Korea, Mexico.
Right.
We want to be here in South Africa. We want to expand our relationships here. We want to invest resources on the ground here. We see South Africa as a gateway to the continent. We need to do this in partnership with your government, and we need to do this in partnership with your private sector. And by the way, our government is supporting us and encouraging us to do this.
You're not going
so
to
let's
tell
take
him
advantage of this.
You're not going to tell him you're worried about nationalization?
Well, I'm going to talk about that, but in
sure.
the context of how we move forward, not how we look backwards.
Absolutely. Myron Brilliant, Senior Vice President, International Affairs at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for your time.